As the final project for the Udacity VR Developer Nano degree, the game created needed to convey some sort of emotion. One of the biggest literary influences in my life is H.P. Lovecraft, and his brand of cosmic horror instills a sense of dread and foreboding that I wanted to try to capture. In the game, the player is in an old abandoned manor, with no real idea of what's going on. Through a series of journal entries, the player needs to find pages from the Necronomicon in order to complete an incantation to open a gate to where the old ones exist. One page is located in a room which has swarming flies and a large breathing mass of slimy flesh that the player must dig through to obtain a page. The controller provides haptic feedback to simulate the resistance one would encounter when moving their hands through an organic blob of flesh. The next page is revealed once the player completes a puzzle. 3 symbols must be touched in a specific order, which is given on flashing segments on the TV. And there's also patterns on the wall, blood splatter patterns that also show the order that the player has to put together with the images on the screen. A third page is found in a room which will shrink the player as they move across the room. The scaling is distance dependent, and as the player reaches a cabinet at the end of the room, a smaller version of the original room exists within that cabinet. Likewise, at the end of that small room, there's another cabinet with a smaller version of the main room in that one. By playing with scale, I wanted to add a level of uncertainty in the physical laws of the house. There is a chamber under the house which is surrounded by pillars. Once the pages of the Necronomicon are placed on those pillars and the player walks back into the central chamber, one of 2 endings will take place. If the player has collected all 8 journal pages, a swarm of glowing spheres will appear. The house will slowly vanish, and the player is left with a sense of confusion as well as uncertainty as to what is happening. If some journal pages are missing, the player will be transported to an endless plane of fog. Out of the fog, Cthulhu will slowly rise from the mist. Again, the player does not know if this will turn out badly for them, if they are safe, if there will be any release to the buildup of tension in the end segment. I modeled Cthulhu in Google Blocks, a low-poly modeling tool which is free on Steam. The large winged insect and the blobby mass of flesh were also created using Google Blocks. The manor was a Unity asset, and the main section of the manor was used from the asset pack, but significantly expanded upon to make the rooms I needed for the game. This game was an exploration into the unknown, both for the player and for me as well.